Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, I was listening to As It Stands, I often do. He makes videos a lot of the time about random things. If you make enough videos, you can be right about something, and that's how he moves. Uh, but the video he just made right now that I was listening to was the likelihood of Cam Thomas being available as a sign and trade option for the Lakers. And I'm not really a big fan of Cam Thomas, the player or the archetype, to be honest with you, because I look at him as a guy who tends to stay injured. His highs are ridiculously all-star level highs. His lows tend to be him out for a long time. Now, I don't know how much of that has to do with the team that he's been on because he's a Brooklyn Net. And a lot of times, teams that don't win tend to exaggerate the length of injury so that they can tank or showcase other players. So you gotta look at that with an asterisk when you know the guy plays for a bad squad. But all in all, when I look at Cam Thomas, I tend to have negative outlook on what he's going to be able to do. But a lot of times that's in the context of him being on the Brooklyn Nets, which is the only team I think I've ever known of him to be on. The Brooklyn Nets have never had a team that really fit his archetype. They never had enough stars to offset the defense that ultimately could be thrown at him at a given moment. And I look at our situation, and I say that's not what's going on here, though. Now, one of the things the Lakers had trouble with last year was scoring off of the bench, which, as it stands, mentioned. I think he's on to something. I think at the end of the day, when you look at what Cam Thomas is, he's a scorer. Now, maybe he might be able to do more than what we've seen in the context of a different situation, but I'm not bringing him here to do anything new. I'm not bringing him here to be a playmaker or a defensive player or a rebounder or anything like that. I want him to be a Lou Williams-like guy. I want him to be somebody who can score the ball at a very high level off of the bench. And when I think about who's on our team doing that, one of the problems that we had last year is that we didn't have anybody doing that. And when I look at what we brought to our situation this year, I still am not confident that that's what our roster has. Now, a lot of people are talking about bringing Austin off the bench, starting Marcus Smart. If we do that, I think we have the piece. That's what Austin can do. He can come off the bench and score 1,000,000 points, facilitate, and all of that. I'm not sure that's what we'll end up doing or not. And I think if you're asking Marcus Smart to be a consistent scorer off the bench, he's probably better than anybody we had last year to do that. But I still don't necessarily see that piece on our bench. I wanted us to get a backup point guard. I think we established that we've done that in getting Marcus Smart. So I no longer think that making sure that the player that we bring in can specifically play, make, and connect with others passing wise. Now, if they can, I think that's always a plus. The more of those players you have, the merrier. And to a point, I think Cam Thomas's role on the Nets may be better this year because of the presence of all of the passers that they brought to the Nets this season. So if I'm to reimagine what he looks like with the Nets this year, I would imagine he's going to have many more opportunities to get looks from all of those playmakers who are all coming in at the same time. They brought themselves probably 4 or 5 playmakers in the the draft alone. Wolf is a playmaker. Saraf is a playmaker. Demon is the best passer in the draft. So they brought themselves significantly more connective pieces that should be looking to get him and Michael Porter Jr. the ball. But the Nets, for whatever reason, don't appear to have a vision for his piece on this team anymore. So where do I want a guy like Cam Thomas to go? To a place where they got similar playmaking ability to get him the ball. LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Marcus Smart, and Austin Reeves are all playmakers who can get him the ball at any given moment he's on the floor with them. Now, defensively, him and Austin I'm a little concerned with, but him and Marcus, that could be cool. That could be cool. They offset one another's weaknesses and strengths if you decide to use them off the bench. Now, you may need Marcus in your starting lineup. Maybe you want to stagger them in ways that make it make more sense. If you're keeping Gabe Vincent, I don't know that Gabe Vincent's lack of playmaking ability and Cam Thomas look great to me in the backcourt unless you're putting a playmaker at that 3. Now, you want to stagger up Austin or Marcus to the 3. I think you can get away with it in some lineups, but that probably creates other problems that I'm probably going to need to try to visualize as well. But strictly off of the continuity of offense, which is where my basketball IQ tends to venture on the offensive end a lot of times, that looks like it's shaky if Gabe Vincent is in place. But not if Marcus Smart's in place, not if Austin Reeves in place with Cam Thomas, as he's the number 2 and those other dudes would be your point guard. So for me, I think Cam Thomas potentially becomes a piece that we can have on the floor and effectively get the most out of him on the offensive end. Now, can we mask his potential defensive deficiencies? I don't know how deficient he is defensively, and I don't know that we can cover him if he is a deficient defensive player. I'm just ignorant to his defense. I ain't seen enough of him. I don't know. But I ain't never heard of nobody say he's a great defender. You're getting him for buckets. But what you understand is that he's one of the most gifted bucket getters in all of basketball. He reminds me of a Swaggy P-like guy. It wasn't quite an all-star, but when it came to scoring the ball, all-star level scorer. Lou Williams, all-star level type of scorer. Jamal Crawford. I think this guy, Cam Thomas, is probably more talented scoring the ball than all 3 of them. Based on what I've seen, when he goes up, he stays up. He can give you 35 for like 5 straight games. When he goes crazy, this is who he is. You're going to have to give him a lot of touches in order to assure that he can give you the most of what he is. And the problem that I run into in visualizing him on this roster is the same problem that I have with us having Rui on the roster, in the sense that Rui Hachimura needs his touches. Anything less than 9 attempts, you're not getting the most out of Rui. You ask him to rebound, you ask him to defend, you ask him to play make, you're wasting your time. The best thing for Rui is to get him 9 attempts a night or more, and the efficiency will bleed through to provide you the understanding of what his talent level actually is. And so that's really what it is for me. I worry if JJ Redick is not going to have trouble with Cam Thomas and getting him his looks, because anything less than 9 looks a game for Cam Thomas isn't probably best. So I don't know that there are many fits in this league for Cam Thomas, because he doesn't come together to make other things happen defensively, rebounding, passing. He's not really expected to be any of that. He's a scorer. And I don't know how many of the 30 teams in this league actually need that piece getting that many looks in their offense while not contributing to other things. Usually a player like that's going to have to sacrifice their shot attempts for the sake of other guys who are going to have bigger roles, who contribute in other categories more often and can still get you buckets. So there has to be a vision for how to get the most out of a guy like Cam Thomas. And if you don't have the situation, you too are not going to be happy with Cam Thomas. It's not the league for that archetype right now. The guy who can score like an all-star, but kind of does everything else on a bench level. You're just not going to get enough touches. But I think when you look at the Laker bench and you look at the struggles that the Lakers have had, we could have drastically utilized him last season based on how our offense was from our second unit. We had the worst offense in the second unit. And I think that was a misdirection of how capable our defense, our bench was, based on the bench being contrived, if that's a word, being consisting of more defensive players than offensive players. From player to player to player, you didn't have scorers on your bench. You had defenders, you had guys that can kind of do scrappy work. So all in all, you didn't have a horrible bench. You just didn't have a scoring bench last year. And you needed one. And so that's what I don't want the Lakers to continue to have happen going into this year. We have done a great job of giving ourselves a center in Ayton. We got ourselves Marcus Smart. We like that piece. for our playmaking, for our backup point guard position, for starting shooting guard, potentially backup shooting guard, multiple things Marcus Smart can handle for us this year if he's healthy. We also brought ourselves, of course, Abdou Thiero, of whom I watched about 50 minutes of highlights. I'd seen the first half of like an hour and 50-minute highlight reel, which is forever to watch a player. And then I watched another 50 minutes basically over the last 2 nights and finished off that video. So I've seen all of Abdou Thiero's highlights in every category of everything he's ever done. I basically laid eyes on it in a highlight-like setting, if that makes any sense. So I have some things to say about Abdou Thiero as well, some updates on my thoughts about him. But you brought yourself the young fella, Jake LaRavia, whose defense may be better than one may consider from afar. Listening to him talk, he seems to have a lot of promise in regards to his confidence on the defensive end. So I think that we'll be looking for him to excel on that end, maybe more than what we expected beforehand. Of course, we brought ourselves back Jackson Hayes for the lob threat ability. Although I'm not too excited about him, I still think that's an important piece for Luka. We brought ourselves back Christian Koloko, who I think is going to help us as he continues to show promise as a rim protector, maybe arguably our most talented pure rim protector on the roster right now. I hear we also may be interested in Robert Williams, of whom I've warmed up to a lot since bringing in Marcus Smart. I just think Robert Williams, his piece almost makes more sense when you have more centers already on the roster. You're not relying upon him to stay healthy. I like Robert Williams' fit on this team right now more than I did about 3 months ago. If we can get Robert Williams, I think that'd be a home run for us at this point, depending on what we give up for him. So like that, I like that rumor, but I still think we need to do some things, some other small marginal things to really put ourselves in a position to feel great about our chances in the Western Conference. I think we're on our way. I think we could potentially get there, but I think there's still more to do. And Cam Thomas, I think, would be a welcome addition to this situation because he does something that none of those other players do specifically, for which we've needed on our bench over the last year or so. And that is a scorer, somebody who we can count on for about 18 points off the bench. Because Gabe Vincent's not particularly a scorer, and I don't know how soon some of our other players are going to be able to contribute in that category. That's my concern. Now, like I said, if we shake up our bench to where we move Rui or Austin to the bench, I think we could have some scoring off the bench that we didn't have last year. And I think our roster is much more talented in other areas to where you can do that, and it makes a lot more sense than it did last season. But if we move all of what it is that our best stuff is to the front of the line, you may still have some deficiency scoring the ball. Now, as much stats as I read on opponents last year against the Lakers and in other games and stuff like that, what you really want most of the time is just 2 guys that you can count on to score the ball significantly every night off of your bench. If 2 people can go for more than 12 points off of your bench and you have an average to good scoring starting unit, you could probably get to your 115, 120 point mark, which is what you ultimately hope to get to in trying to compete in this NBA right now. 115, 100, if you can average 120 points, you're a good offensive team. You're going to be a good playoff team if you play some defense. But if you're averaging around 106 points or less than that, you're going to struggle, and it's going to suck for you. So for me, if we're making sense of our roster, I think we can accumulate. We're going to have a naturally better scoring bench off the strength of just what we've brought to our situation. Regardless of who we shift around, you have new, more capable scoring players on your roster. Marcus Smart is a more capable scoring roster player at this point than having Gabe Vincent in that role last year. Now, you still got Gabe Vincent on your team, and I still don't expect Gabe Vincent to do much of anything on the offensive end most nights. I really don't. But you're likely to have more scoring just coming off the strength of inserting specifically DeAndre Ayton into your starting lineup. So the requirement for you to have as much scoring off your bench as you did last year in theory, so long as everybody's healthy, shouldn't be as pressing for you. However, I want to account for, if I'm trying to be a serious team, I got to account for the expectations of the health of the players on my roster. And right now, I just think that we need to make sure that we're a bit more deep and have a bit more controlled scoring on the roster off of the bench, because I can't count on Ayton to stay healthy. I can't count on Luka necessarily to stay healthy. Bron is 41 years old in December. Austin, though he played 81 games last year, did miss some significant playoff. He played, but he didn't play well because of the foot injury. I don't know that the sum of my pieces. Gabe Vincent, I don't expect to stay healthy. If we're bringing in Robert Williams, he's not going to be healthy for half of the season. You can pencil that in. I don't think our expectations are that we're going to be a durable basketball team, so we should have some durable pieces off the bench. So, is Cam Thomas going to help with that? I don't see him as a healthy player either, which could be a big con to bringing him in. But I think his ceiling scoring the ball is better than probably 98% of the players in his category, in his league, so to speak. Players of his caliber, none of them score as good as him, as consistently as him. I can't think of anybody probably better than him as a pure scorer in his range. So I think he fits in. I also think Amir Coffey fits in. I would love to have one of those two players on this roster. One of those two guys I think we should try to add, if we can. I think we would be very happy if we add one of them. You don't need both of them because they both play the same role. I think you have a plethora of scoring talent off your bench is always a good thing, but some guys are not going to be happy because they're not going to get their looks. Amir Coffey probably has a bit more upside in other categories than Cam Thomas. Guy who's been in Los Angeles already. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to go back to the Clippers for whatever reason. I would imagine he would love to stay in Los Angeles. So I think the Lakers have a leg up. If he doesn't resign with the Clippers, I don't think dude wants to leave LA. Most people don't. So I would already be on the phone with his reps trying to get him to sign something with us. But if we can get a signed trade with Cam Thomas, if it's a good trade that we like, I think we would be extremely excited about the upside of our entire roster and the ability to score 120 points if one or two guys from our regular rotation go down. This Cam Thomas piece could potentially be the makeup for a lost Rui, a lost Austin, depending on how well he's scoring, maybe even a lost LeBron. He's going to run scores up, and then you're going to bring in other pieces that do some of the defense and rebounding things and your stars, and you're going to win games off the strength of Cam Thomas being able to help you booster leads while stars are sitting down. I can't think of too many pieces in this league that I trust to do that specific thing probably more than him. Not too many. Where they're coming off the bench, I got a 10-point lead. He comes in the game, we go up by 15, go up by 20, off the strength of what he does absolutely naturally. If we can keep other players on the floor to defend and rebound and rim protect and all of that, I can trust him to score all day. So this is why I think he was more necessary last year with the construction of our roster than maybe he looks to be this year for the construction of our roster. We really needed something like that last year. But I still think we could definitely use someone like that this year. So I'm warming up to the idea of bringing in that archetype. Now that we have the point guard, facilitator, defensive player in place, we can move on from a Gabe Vincent and bring ourselves someone like a Cam Thomas or Amir Coffey, and I think we will feel pretty good about what that means for our roster. The Gabe Vincent, I still think throughout the course of the context of what we have, he definitely makes us feel more sturdy about our defense. Our defensive capability, our defensive IQ hovers above what I think would be Cam Thomas replacement. I think your defense falls off a bit if you lose Gabe for that piece, but I think your offense goes up higher than your defense stays stable, if that makes any sense, with the acquisition of Cam Thomas and Gabe Vincent instead. As much has been said about Gabe Vincent and Ayton, Marcus Smart, and Luka Doncic being four players that we have that played in 4 of the last 6 NBA Finals. That is an important stat for the Lakers because it speaks to their ability to put players on the floor that have been there, that have done that. None of them want it though, so they should all be hungry as well. I like that idea, but still, Gabe Vincent for me, I can sacrifice that in Gabe if I'm bringing in somebody that I think can upgrade my team. So that's something that I just want to throw out there. So that's my take on the Cam Thomas thing. I just think that without understanding what it would take to get him, how much we would have to give up, I think we only have 1 second-round pick left. I wouldn't be overly thrilled about just moving on from it, although you can pick up second-round picks a plethora of different ways, as we were able to do without Duke Thero. So moving on from the second-round pick should not be something that's pressing to us, but we do understand that we only have one of our natural second-round picks left for like 5 years. So you've given a lot of them away to get Rui several years ago, and that's really where the bulk of them went. I think just the same, if you want to trade Rui to get some second-round picks, should be able to do that. So we can make up for that if we really need to get second-rounders for some reason. Abdou Thero. What I took from Abdou Thero in watching so much footage of him yesterday is this dude has extremely active hands, man. I knew he was a good defensive player based on what is said about him. I hadn't seen a whole lot of defensive footage of him. I just trusted people say, yo, this is a good defender. But he is a much more naturally gifted and naturally talented, active hands guy than I thought. That's what I can say. He is going to get steals, man. I don't want to jump out the window when it comes to Abdou Thero as it pertains to this, but I envision him being an extremely productive steals player in this league. Extremely productive. He jumps passing lanes as well as anybody. He has active hands as good as anybody. I'm telling you, the problem is he could pick up some ridiculous fouls because of it. He is going to get a lot of reaching fouls, and we're going to have to be patient with him because he's going to have times where he's not going to appear that he's fouling. They're going to call it anyway. It happened a lot in Arkansas. And so that's what I can say. His steals ability is talented and gifted. He has active hands. He closes out pretty fast around the perimeter. I like his perimeter discipline. I think that could be a potential strength for him when guarding the perimeter players, how he disciplines himself to not run too far at them, not jump too much on pump fakes. His recovery ability on the defensive end stood out to me. He's the type of guy who can blow a defensive assignment and still make up for it somehow because he's that fast. The activity was really, really, really impressive. Extreme activity on the defensive end. He wasn't always successful in getting stops, but the effort was extraordinary in those highlights. Extraordinary effort. And his ability to weak side block, chase down block, is also going to be an extreme strength for him. He is a gifted athlete, and he utilizes his hands in midair and on the ground. And so that's what I took away from Abdou Thero. He got hands, man. He is going to take the ball from people. If they're dribbling in front of him, he's going to snatch it from them. You know, he'll reach around and get fouls called, but if they let him get away with it, he's taking the ball, he's going the other way. He is extremely cat-like when it comes to that. His hands, he's active. He puts a hand up and contests shots very well, probably better than a lot of players in the league already. This is a guy who really gives you active defensive effort. I would have loved to seen him get scored on less because it seemed like it was a lot of effort he was still getting scored on. So that kind of frustrates. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about getting a hand up, sliding your feet, fighting around screens, yeah. This dude is very, very intentional on the defensive end in all the areas of energy. He does not have wasted energy on the defensive end. He exerts himself, and I think he's going to be extremely helpful in that way. So that's what I can say. On the offensive end, I already knew what I knew. He's an explosive player. He's a very strong player. But on the defensive end, his hands were what stood out. His arms, he contests. He doesn't have, hand down, man down. It's not really a thing with him. He's going to contest with both arms. Uh, I was extremely impressed with his hands and his arm activity on the defensive end. So that's what I want to say, man. I think Abdul Thero on that side of the ball can help us right away, absolutely right away. And when you put him on the floor with Marcus Smart, you put him on the floor with Vanderbilt, people gonna have to deal with that. They're gonna have to deal with that, man. That's what it really comes down to. Those are three very, very gifted defensive players, and I think our defense is going to be much improved this year, even though we lost Dorian Finney-Smith, who was also extremely gifted defensively. You brought in some dogs. Between Abdul Thero and Marcus Smart, you are definitely making up for Dorian Finney-Smith on the defensive end, 1,000%. So long as you can get Thero on the floor, because he might not be ready. But if he is ready, if he's a rookie who can help you right away, if he's going to help you anywhere, it's going to be with the energy on the defensive end and him getting out and passing lanes and ultimately chasing down blocks. People are going to think they're going to have layups in front of him and he's going to swat them like LeBron. And they ain't going to see him coming. And he's going to do it a lot. So this is an extremely helpful piece right away in that area. So that's what I wanted to say, man. That is exactly what I'm going to say. Active hands, arms, man. Abdul Thero, y'all going to love this rookie. Y'all going to love this rookie. So that's what I wanted to say right there. And I still got to do more homework on the new guy that we picked up. I never know what his name is. I just haven't done enough homework on him. But I will be doing that. And so I'm sure everybody on our team, I'll know back in front eventually, but right now I'm still completely in the dark about the new kid that we just picked up on a two-way. But yeah, there are players, man. I keep telling y'all there were guys that we didn't see in the summer league that we needed to see. We did move on from Dixon, from what I understand. He's out in the wild, but he's got to recover from a foot injury. Hopefully he gets another opportunity in the NBA. Hopefully we don't regret not giving him a chance, because he has some natural ability. I think it's going to be very evident early, but he's going to have to get healthy. And so he just caught some terrible luck here, and you just got to tell him, hey, if the Lakers wanted you on a two-way, that's because you could do something that they could identify. Get healthy, and you'll be able to continue doing those things, no problem. Somebody else will want you to 1,000%. I'm still extremely excited about Marciulionis. I think I'm one of the only people that even knows who he is, because we didn't see him in the summer league. But as I told you guys, I watched an hour and some change of him. And just like I did of Abdul Thero, and I'm super excited about that piece. I know he's going to be good in this league, and I'm glad he's with us. So yeah, Marciulionis, Thero, two rookies that I think are going to make Laker fans very happy when we see what they can do. So that's what's on my mind, man. That's exactly what's on my mind. I went back and I revisited last night. I revisited the moment that we traded for Luka. I listened to the video. I'll let this go by. I listened to the video that I made of the Knicks game before it, and then the 3 videos I made after the trade took place all that same night. I sat there for almost 2 hours and a half listening to my old content, and then I listened to a couple podcasts from that day as well. So that's what I've been doing as well, is reliving the Luka trade. Now that we're in a space where we're expecting him to sign the $226 for 4 years on October 2nd. August 2nd. I think we are in a space where we can revisit all of that and just be in wonder of how we got here, how we got to this place where Luka Doncic is on our team. And, you know, Dallas fans, I think, have gone through some healing. I think getting Cooper Flag has helped them some, but I think there's going to be points in time throughout the course of the season where they're gonna feel what just happened. I think some of them are in a space of la-la land because they got Cooper Flag. I'm curious to see if Cooper Flag is truly going to fill that void, or is the pain that they felt 5 months ago going to continue to be a thing that they continue to feel going forward? Because it was rough on them. When I say rough, it was rough. And I think we all recognize that, but I think some of us have forgotten that over the course of the last 5 months as Luka being a Laker has become more real to us. I revisited that moment, and it was far more surreal than I remembered it for both sides. So, yeah, I think Dallas fans are back on board with their team, but I don't I don't think they're going to be without a great deal of pain throughout the course of the season and throughout the course of the next several years as Luka continues to develop into one of the best players that we've ever seen. So happy he's on our side. So very thankful that he signed an extension with us. So very thankful we were able to get that trade going. And you know, this is where we're at with that. So that's what I wanted to say, man. Just I revisited that moment last night, and I still am in shock to a degree for both sides, the Lakers side of it and Dallas side of it. So that's really where my head is, man. I think this has been a very good summer, lucrative summer for the Lakers. Getting talent on the team, filling in the blanks in some areas that we needed. I think we've done a good job, and I think we'll continue to do a good job if we can continue on the path that we've been on. I do not think the Lakers are done, although they may be forced into a space where they have to be done. I still think the intention is to do something else. Maybe a sign and trade of somebody, some sort. Maybe a consolidation trade like it's been rumored. I would love for us to move on from Gabe Vincent. I would love for us to move on from Maxi Kleber and turn those two pieces into players that we are a bit more likely to utilize and be comfortable with. I'm not overly excited about our center position right now. Ayton is obviously not part of the problem. My starting center situation is straight. My backup center position is still weak, and Ayton's not expected to stay healthy. So I need somebody to step in and be ready to go ahead of the centers that I have. Koloko, nice developing player. He's going to develop into a nice role player, but I never see him stepping in front of Ayton or nothing like that. He's a bench guy likely for the rest of his career. Solid bench, rim protection, cool, love that. Good floor for us. Not a great ceiling. Jackson Hayes, I'm not gonna bash Jackson Hayes. I just don't really trust Jackson Hayes in big moments, and I just need somebody better than him in front of him. I do. Robert Williams would be great. I think that'll make me feel a lot better. I don't know that I'm comfortable because I have to consider the health expectations of Robert Williams, which is horrible. But Ayton, Williams, Koloko, Hayes, if everybody's healthy, I feel good about my center position. If people are not healthy, I'm very concerned still. And this is why I think we need to make sure that the center we're bringing in is more expected to stay healthy than Robert is, or we need to bring in Robert and then another guy too. If I'm being real. Because Ayton goes down, Robert goes down inevitably. Now just you're moving with Jackson Hayes. You're moving with Koloko. And if that's what you're forced to deal with, you're going to be running small ball because you're not going to want to play to people like that. So that's why the Jackson Hayes signing was just like, like you bring him in because he's a leaper, and Luka likes to play with leapers, and that makes it easier for Luka's on the offensive end. But do you actually want him on the floor? And that's what that's what kind of puts a little bit of a negative, a minus sign in our acquisitions this offseason. For every great thing that we've done, we brought back a dude that we really don't care to really see out there. So that's like, look, okay, we still got some things to do. So, yeah, for me, that makes it more pressing that I turn Maxi Kleber into a legitimate, trustworthy center. Because I don't trust Maxi Kleber. Nah. Maxi Kleber, I'm moving on from him as soon as I get a chance to. So this is when it becomes a conversation of, although we addressed our center position, have we addressed it enough to actually feel confident when you know the people that you have out there are likely not great to stay healthy? Ayton, I'm expecting to play about 50 games, 55 games. What are we going to do for the rest of them 30 games? Something, who's going to be our center in that situation? Am I running Jackson Hayes for real? I need to not. Am I really running with Koloko for real? That can't be something I'm relying upon. Is it Robert Williams? Robert going to be going for more games than that. So And right now, there's no Robert Williams. We don't have him on our team. So what is our solution? What is our solution if Ayton goes down? What are we going to do for them 30 games that Ayton don't play? Because anybody that's expecting him to play 82 games is not assessing him properly. He's not going to. So what are you doing with the rest of those minutes with the center position? I think that's the question I'm going to need Rob Pelinka to answer for me. Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, can we not turn them people into a legitimate center? Is it not possible we do something type of sign and trade to get us somebody somehow? I don't know the answer to that, but I hope the answer is yes. Because right now my center position is still not solidified past DeAndre Ayton. I don't trust none of those people behind him. So that's really what it comes out to. I'm just very, very. I'm trying to stay on top of everything. That's really what it comes down to. This brain is trying to stay on top of what goes wrong when people get hurt, expecting people to get hurt, and how do we stay above the fray in the case that is the case. I do have some people I expect to miss time, and I need to make sure that we have legitimate bodies behind them, ready to go if I'm serious about winning. So I am serious about winning. I think this roster is starting to get closer to being something you can expect to do good things in the playoffs. I don't expect to win a championship, but the ceiling is high for us in the Western Conference, in my opinion. It's high. And given the fact that we're seeing players go down, you don't know what the fate is of these teams ahead. I just watched the Indiana Pacers get to the finals. I feel like we're the Pacers in the Western Conference this year. We could definitely be the Pacers in the Western Conference this year. So, yeah, that's really what it is for me. And we got some things to shore up. So that's my thought. All right, Cam Thomas would be a great acquisition. I would love to get a center as well. The buyout market has been good to us, so we got to keep an eye open for more opportunities there. But that's where my head is, man. Definitely excited about Luka signing. He's going to be playing the Eurobasket. I never argue with superstars that want to represent the country. I'm never comfortable with it either. I'm old enough to remember when Paul George's leg snapped playing for USA. I ain't been comfortable with outside of NBA basketball since. For nobody. I'm never comfortable. I don't ever want any of my players to play in any basketball but the All-Star game and NBA Laker basketball. So if you ask me if I want Luka to play in international play, I never want anybody to play in any type of play like that. There's just too much of an injury risk for us. But guys are going to do what guys want to do. And so we got Luka on our team. He's going to want to play in Eurobasket every year, and that's just what it is. So, yeah, it's not exclusive to Luka that I don't care to see people play those games. That's everybody, man. I don't want anybody to ever play any games outside of NBA basketball. I don't want dudes playing the rec center. I don't want people to play in the Drew League. I don't want to see nobody doing nothing that could potentially get them hurt off of our basketball floor. That's how I feel. But guys want to keep their conditioning going. That's one way to do it. And I think Luka, with such expectations of him being one of the greatest players in the world, it means a lot to him to represent Slovenia anytime he gets a chance. And if I'm bringing in Luka to Don, I'm expecting that that's going to be his passion going forward. It's just part of the experience there. So we'll root him on in Eurobasket. Hopefully he gets to win the pinnacle or the pennant, whatever the championship would be there, and get back to us healthy in the greatest shape possible right now. That's the goal, hopefully, for Luka. Changing his detractors' minds forever in regards to his willingness to take care of himself and just be more mature. He's turning 26 now. If he's already turned 26, he shouldn't be doing the same stuff you did when you're 24 or 23 years old. You're a grown man now, and I expect for him to carry himself with a bit more maturity going forward. I do, as I expect anybody who's coming to age to handle themselves better than they did in the past. And so that's what it is. I think he understands his responsibility. I think he knows how fragile his body can be if he doesn't take care of it. I think he understands the magnitude of the circumstances representing the Lakers and representing his country. So he has to take care of his body to be his best. And I think he's doing a great job this offseason of showing us that he's serious about that. Hopefully he can maintain those habits and carry them into the future for his betterment. So that's pretty much what it is, man. That's Laker talk for you, man. My name is BDO44. I thank you all for watching.